Hello, everybody. Tania here, your nutritionist and fitness coach right here in our own Fit Lifers 8 weeks to optimal health group. So thanks for joining me here today on Fit Nutrition Podcast. Let me know where you're watching, where you're coming in from. And if you're watching live or on the replay, I promise I will come back and answer questions at the end. I like to just, to share information. I can see some of the comments come through, but I don't want to waste your time by me trying to answer them and managing the tech and everything like that, because I don't do that very well. So let's get going right here. And I just want to make sure, oh yeah, we are streaming on Facebook. Fantastic. Okay, so if you see me looking in a few different places, I've got some information here that I want to make sure that I don't miss to share with you today. So our topic is what's not happening anymore, what's trending, and what actually works. All right. So maybe probably a lot of you have seen this actually, is that recently, huge diet mogul Jenny Craig, they declared bankruptcy, right? That was a pretty big shock to a lot of people. I don't know, they've been around since like 1987 or something, right? And now they declared bankruptcy and they're shutting down stores all across Canada and the US. Now, just think about that. It's been there, for that many years. And just think, if you're like me, if you're an adult or young adult or teen in the 80s and 90s, you probably heard that name. You probably even knew somebody who was doing it, who was doing the program. And for those of you who don't know, I'm just going to, give you a little recap. It's a program where you show up to their store. So you go there in person and you have a weekly weigh-in, you order their food online. So their food is pre-packaged, pre-set with the right portions, they tell you. But if they're all pre-packaged, my thought is how is my husband's portion the same for me, and vice versa. So not quite sure exactly how that all works, but anyway, they had a system and many people said that it worked for them. And then they would do it for a while, and then they're like, oh, okay, I have to go back to that and do it again because it worked for me. So we've talked about what works and what didn't, right? So that's why today's topic, what's out, what's trending, and what works for weight loss. So if you have to go back to something several times and do things that are not conducive to your daily life, like buying prepackaged food, how do you do that on a vacation? It might work if you're only going away overnight or for the weekend. Maybe you can put enough in your suitcase. I'll grant you that. But really, like what happens if you want to take a long trip? What happens if, you only want to travel with carry-on? You don't have a lot of room. There's a whole bunch of things, right? What happens if you want to go and eat all the wonderful ethnic foods in the place that you're traveling to? And you should, by the way, and you can. So anyway, that's how Jenny Craig's system worked, is that they relied on the prepackaged meals made to a specific caloric amount. Members were required to purchase the products and then these pre-planned meals and then consume them and then do the weigh-ins and all those check-ins and all the things in order to get results. And so I don't know about you, but after several decades, women, especially women, are not wanting to do those things anymore. And that is why they shut down. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I didn't talk to the CEO, but think about it. How many times people are sick and tired of being sick and tired? Women are sick and tired of being compared, based on their weight number. Now, think about this, right? Weight Watchers is similar. But when you show up there and now everybody has to do their weigh-in, and who knows, it may be private, it may not be. I would assume, I'd hope that it would be. But you can imagine the people's faces for those people who get a number that they're happy with. Maybe they did lose some weight that week and that just makes them ecstatic. They're super happy. Now, what happens if the next person comes and gets on the scale and she looks down or looks at the scale and she's like, and it didn't move. And so she's just defeated. And she just feels like, oh my gosh, I'm a failure. How come everybody else in the room, even if everybody else in the room didn't lose weight, that's what she thinks, right? I mean, we've all been there. And she's thinking, oh my gosh, everyone else can do this. How come I can't? And that number on the scale should never be, associated with your worth or your ability or, your health or your anything like that. That is simply gravity's pull on your body, and then it gives you a number. Now, granted, we use that for a metric sometimes, and we know that, we might know at some point that, oh, hey, I felt so good when I weighed X. Okay, that kind of gives you something to shoot for. But you have to look at what else were you doing when you felt really good at X? Maybe you were choosing more whole foods and you weren't eating so many packaged stuff. Maybe you drank a lot of water every day. You're flushing out those toxins. Maybe you were moving your body every day. Maybe it wasn't such a stressful time in your life and you were able to sleep really well. So there are many, many factors, and we've talked about the 6 plates here before. And so I'm not going to go into that a whole bunch, but there are all those 6 things, right? Nutrition, exercise, water, sleep, stress, and supplements to fill your gaps. So it could be that there was a whole bunch of those other things on board with you that you were doing or that you had going on at the time in order to get that number. So it's not the number itself, but what were you doing to achieve that number? Okay. Now, going back to the gal who stepped on the scale and looked disappointed and went, oh, everyone else can do this, but not me. What happens now if she had changed her body composition and she didn't actually lose weight on the scale, but maybe she lost a few inches around her waist? And we know that a pound is a pound, okay? Those people who said muscle weighs more than fat, it does not. It takes up fewer bits of space. It takes up less space. So if you have a pound of muscle and a pound of fat, there's your visual. It's going to take up 2/3 less space. Your muscle takes up 2/3 less space. So if you weigh the same, think about it. You've swapped things over to muscle. It's taking up less space. No wonder you're a smaller inches, even if the number on the scale didn't move. All right. So that's what some of those, including, Jenny Craig, are going to get people having that false sense of what to look at. And I think really that's resonating with a lot of people. And they're like, I'm sick and tired of doing all things diet. I'm sick and tired of being on a diet. I'm sick and tired of cutting calories, counting or cutting out all my carbohydrates, tracking every bite and feeling guilty for any little extra bit that goes in my mouth. Eating, or I'm sick and tired of eating differently than the rest of my family while they're sitting over there having dinner. I'm eating this little, rabbit bowl of food and they're having this wonderful dinner. They're sick and tired of feeling that fear and that panic rise up inside when they have to go to the weigh-ins, right? That's the biggie one. And so that day each week where they go would tell them, oh, thinking in their head, I was either really good this week or I was bad this week. And that should never be something that food makes us feel. Food is neither good nor bad, and it should not make you feel good or bad. It should not make you feel guilt or shame or regret or anything like that. It is simply something that we need to fuel our body. It fuels our body, but it should also fuel your soul, because food is part of all of our important celebrations and culture and connections with people. Right? I mean, I remember for myself that some of the best times in my life, I remember were sitting around the table at my grandma's for dinner. My grandma would have the whole family over. It was like Christmas dinner almost every Sunday. As much of the family that was local would come every Sunday. And it was a great time. I got to, when we were younger, my sister and I slept overnight at my grandma's house, and we baked pies in the morning, and we helped grandma, and we helped serve, and we helped clean up. And it was just that whole environment, the food, everyone came to grandma's house for dinner, right? It was the food that brought us together. So, when food is making you, or when you're using food and you're thinking about it in a way that's making you feel guilty or regretful or shameful or panicked or anxiety or fear or any of those kinds of things, you are missing out on the event, the moments and the memories you can create because of what's coming together around that plate of food or that cup of coffee or that, sitting down for a piece of birthday cake or whatever it happens to be. You're missing out on all of that. And that's just, people are tired of that. They don't want to do that anymore, especially women, right? Women have typically been the biggest dieters over men, right? That whole culture, the whole Barbie doll thing, the image they tried to show us years ago, that where we should be. And so now I think women especially are really changing the way that they're looking at how they want to do things and how they want to achieve their goals. And their goals are shifting a little bit too, which I love. It's not fully there yet, so hang on, it's coming. But it's coming where women are looking at, hey, I don't have to look like that Barbie doll. I want to be strong. I want to be fit. I want to run and play with my kids or my grandkids. And I can see it in my practice. I just had a call with a lady this morning before I got on here with you guys. And I always send out a survey before we do a call. It asks all these things. And 1 out of 10, where do you rate yourself? And she put number 10 for all of them. So I said, oh my gosh, tell me about this. And what would be your top 2? And her top 2 was like, well, having more energy to do all those things I'm very outdoorsy, to do all those things that I love to do, and then lose some weight. So weight was not her first thing, even though she does want to lose weight. It was having the energy and the ability and having a healthy and strong body to be able to do the things that she wants to do and then lose some weight, which is where we should be thinking, right? What do we want our lives to look like? And when we put that health in place, the weight will follow, right? So you guys all know that the healthy body is the only body that will lose weight, and unhealthy body will hold on to it. So in that wake of Jenny Craig's closure, so that's what's out. Some of the biggies are closing down. They're no longer serving people in the way that they were. I think Jenny Craig's going to try and go online, and we'll see. But with that same mindset and principle, I don't know how well they're going to do. So, and we know that it's still a diet, right? And wherever there's a diet, it just sets you up to fail. So in the wake of that closure, now the new thing that's trending are some medications that are out there. So there's 3 that are similar, and you've probably heard a lot about one of them. So the 3 that are out there are Wegovy or Wegovy. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. Ribelsis and Ozempic. So they're rapidly gaining popularity, and some are even being prescribed for children, as young as 12, which is really scary. So if we clearly have an epidemic of health in North America, US and Canada. Not going to lie, Canada's a little behind the States, but come on, we're not that far behind, you guys, which is not a good place to be. We are statistically the most unhealthy developed countries, first world countries, are statistically now the unhealthiest we've ever been in our entire, history is right now. And we need to do something about that, because clearly what we've been doing that got us here is not working. And just like, one healthy meal is not going to turn your health around overnight, one bad meal is not going to turn your health bad overnight either. It's those small things we've been doing or not doing consistently over time that get us the result. And that's what's been happening over the years, over the decades. Health has been declining because of the things that have been supported and promoted and, said that they work. They don't really work if you can't do it for the rest of your life, right? Those 3 things I always tell my clients. I told that lady I talked to today too. Is it based in science? There's science around a whole bunch of things. We know there's science with blood sugar stabilization. Ask a diabetic. It's crucial. Babies can't even leave the hospital without having their blood sugar checked to make sure that their blood sugar is balancing correctly before they leave. It affects so many systems in our bodies. So number 1, is it based in science? Number 2, does it make sense to you, and can you do it for life? That's why Jenny Craig shut down. People were realizing that they can't do it for life anymore, and they weren't going to spend that money anymore. Right? So can you do it for life? The third one, would you let a child do it? Because our bodies are the same inside as they were when we were born. We still have the same organs and systems. We still take in and metabolize food the same way. Now we're eating solid foods as opposed to a baby, but we're still taking in nutrients and metabolizing them the same way. We're just a larger human, right? So we need to think about that. Would you let a child do it? If you wouldn't let a child do it, you shouldn't be doing it either, which brings me back to these 3 medications, because so Wegovy is an injection. So there's 2 that are injections. The Wegovy and the Ozempic are both injections, and prescribed. The Wegovy is prescribed for adults that are overweight and obese, but also to kids. Now, anytime, I mean, adults that are on diets develop disordered eating. Starting children on any sort of a diet and letting them know that they are on a diet and they have to do this because they have a problem and this is wrong in food, and we demonize food. What we're doing is setting them up for a lifetime of disordered eating, body lack of body confidence, body shaming, a whole bunch of things that are not really good for a growing psyche. It's not good for an adult who's already grown. It's definitely not good for a child. And so I do believe, just so everyone's clear, I do believe medications have their place. I really do. Because, there are some things that are life-changing. If you have a serious bacterial infection, you may need that antibiotic if your body's not fighting it off. If you step on a nail and you're starting to get a little bit of a blood infection there, you need to go and they need to treat you for that, right? There are things that we need. However, all of these 3 medications are being prescribed, either injection or tablet. The Ribocys is a tablet. All 3 of these are being prescribed for things like stabilizing blood sugar, being overweight and obese, some of them even, being prescribed to children. And type 2 diabetes, being overweight and obese, all of these kinds of things can be reversed using food. So it just, our society is it's a microwave society, right? We want everything right now, in this instant. I want it. And yesterday, if I could have had it yesterday, that's even better. They want a quick fix. They want something to know that if I take this, I'm going to get a result. And so what I tell my clients or my prospective clients when we meet even is that no program, diet, whatever word you want to use, I don't use the diet word over here. It's an approach. It's a program. Whatever you do should never be based around on some miracle product, some miracle supplement, some miracle anything, really, whether it's a shot, a tablet, a pill, a hormone, whatever. There shouldn't be just one sort of a miracle thing that, oh, you do this and everything's going to be great, right? Because that's not actually putting your body into a place of health. It's using something foreign to force your body's numbers and systems to be in a place that's going to help you get a result. And as soon as you stop, it's going to go away. Okay. That's the definition of a diet. It's not, something that's not sustainable. We can't do it for life. And just so you know, big pharmaceutical, the statistics are that over 90%, I think it's about 92%, if I remembered correctly, of all prescriptions that are written with the intent that you will take this for the rest of your life. So make no mistake, make no mistake. Okay. The companies, the big pharmaceuticals offering diet solutions, these magic pills, these injections, these hormone shots, or whatever it happens to be, a pill or a patch or whatever. These companies, whether they're pharmaceuticals or independents, are, they're offering diet solutions, and they're doing so based on what it can do for their bottom line, not necessarily the weight that you want to take off your bottom. So I am making a little bit light of that, but seriously, think about it. It's all about the bottom line. They're, how much money they can make at the end of the day because they've got somebody hooked on the next great thing. But how great are these things? Now, some people say, well, Tanya, it's safe and it's been approved, so it should be safe for use, right? You would think so. So I did a deep dive, not too deep, but I did a dive deep enough. And what I found was, hang on, I'm just gonna, like I said, I'm looking here because I've got these things pulled up. Now, Ozempic seems to be the one that is very, very popular out there. And as with any medication, there are side effects, right? We all know that. We know that every medication, there is a side effect or an effect, whatever you want to call it. There's a side effect that comes with it. The problem with that is when you're getting a side effect with one, typically you go to your doctor and you say that this is happening, but I don't, then they don't want you to stop the first one. So they give you another pill to counteract the side effects, which then can give you a different side effect. And you can actually have a domino reaction. I'm sure that you've seen, especially older people, they have a whole handful of pills sometimes, and they started out with one issue. And what we should be focusing on is how we can restore all the health, and maybe, just maybe, we can reverse those things back. There's a lot of research on that says we can, and then help people to get off of some of those medications so that our body can function naturally. Our bodies are a miracle project, and we're designed to heal if we let it, if we give it the right nutrients and supplements, and treat it right, and put it in the right environment to heal. It will. Okay, it doesn't happen overnight. And I think that's where the microwave society comes back in. Everybody's expecting that quick fix because we live in such an advanced society. And because there's so many options out there, every time, if you still have regular cable TV, which I don't, but I know people that do, or if you're watching, one of those systems and platforms and you don't pay to have the ads removed, then there's a lot of ads that come up. Just take a look at those medication ads that come up. They are pounding you hard to take a look at them, right? So Ozempic, like the others, are prescribed if you have type 2 diabetes. Doctor may prescribe it for you. So it's used to manage your blood sugar levels. And so what I was doing is comparing apples to apples. I went to Healthline's medically reviewed page on these 3 drugs so that I could, see the same people reviewing the drugs in the same way, right? So the best you can do, basically, when you're kind of Google searching. So Ozempic is used for the type 2 diabetes. Again, type 2 used to be called adult onset diabetes, meaning sometime from what you've been doing over a long period of time caused your body to go into to be diabetic. You hit pre-diabetes, you went to diabetic, you're insulin resistant, things are happening, it's not a good place to be. You're toasting your body, as my friend Carrie would say, or you haven't put the lemon juice on your cells of your apple. Right? If you picture an apple, you cut the apple in half, forget about that one half, and you ate half. You come back a couple hours later, it's like, oh dang, I forgot to wrap it up. I forgot to put lemon juice on it. It's all brown. It doesn't look very good. If you leave it there, that it's going to start to decompose, over time, and it's going to decompose faster if it's already brown. Now, if you had put that lemon juice on, take a thin slice of that off, cover it with lemon juice, wrap it up, it's going to stay fresh and last much longer than if you just let that decay keep going, right? When we are spiking our blood sugar over and over and over again, all it's doing is increasing that decay, or toasting you. Carrie uses the image of a toaster. You put the bread in, it starts to toast and toast and toast and toast and toast, and finally you forgot about your toast and it's burnt. Okay, that's what we're doing here. You either have a burnt toast or a rotten apple, whichever visual works best for you. So the Ozempic is used to manage blood sugar levels, but we can do that with food. We can eat our proteins, fats, and carbs together in the right portions, in the right frequencies, and we can stabilize our blood sugar. That also balances our hormones, creates hormonal balance in our body. And when our hormones are out of whack, that's not a good thing. So we can bring them back into a line. Again, it's not going to happen overnight. It's what you're doing consistently, but it's going to put your body back into that state and you will consistently feel better. Now, it does say that the medication does, in certain adults, lower the risk of both heart disease and diabetes and heart attack and stroke. Okay. So you'll inject it under your skin. Now, what are the side effects? Because like we said, everything has a side effect. And just so you know, all 3 of these are similar. Some had even, the one of them had even worse side effects, and I'll bring those ones up too. So the mild side effects, they're calling these ones mild. There's 2 categories, mild and serious. The mild side effects are constipation, diarrhea, nausea, stomach pain, and vomiting. Personally, I don't think any one of those, depending on how severe the stomach pain is or the nausea, I don't think any of those is mild. I'm not sure about you. How would you like to be at work? And then, you're prone to vomiting. Not so great. But the serious side effects, they also include nausea. So I guess there's like a little bit and a lot. Pancreatitis, so inflammation in your pancreas. Diabetic retinopathy, so damage to your eyes that's caused by diabetes. So the medication, this medication that's prescribed to you, can also cause damage to your eye that the medication is supposed to get rid of the disease that can also cause damage to your eye. Are you tracking with me? Yeah, doesn't make sense, right? Hypoglycemia, so low blood sugar. So it can work, it can work extra good and bring your blood sugar dangerously low, which is not good either. It can cause gallbladder disease, gallstones, inflammation of your gallbladder, and it can also have allergic reactions. The other thing that it does have on it is what's called, and all three of these drugs, I looked to make sure, all three of these drugs have this as well. It's called a boxed warning. And I thought, what is a boxed warning? I've never really heard anything called that before. So again, it gives you the explanation. And I'll just read it from the website right here, from the report. Ozempic has a boxed warning, which is a serious warning from the Food and Drug Administration. Ozempic has been shown to cause thyroid tumors and thyroid cancer in animals. It isn't known if Ozempic can cause thyroid tumors or medullary thyroid cancer in humans. If you have a family or personal history of medullary thyroid cancer or a rare endocrine condition called multiple endocrine neoplasia syndrome type 2, you should not take Ozempic. Talk with your doctor. And you need to talk to your doctor immediately if you have a lump on your neck. That would be the thyroid cancer. Long-lasting hoarseness in your voice. I'm not sure. Throat cancer, shortness of breath, or trouble swallowing. So all of these things are and so what I thought was interesting is that boxed warning, it's highlighted twice here on this page. It's highlighted under side effects. It says that it's listed as a boxed warning there as well. And then when I scroll down, it also has a specific section talking about the boxed warning. So isn't that interesting that something that we can control? Now, as I said, I'm not totally said that no one should ever take medicines. No, what I'm saying is that I think things are being overprescribed, and I think people are so desperate that they are jumping to the next trending thing because of the beautiful pictures that are maybe displayed or portrayed on commercials and on ads, and they see all these happy people. And yes, they do run through the side effects, but they run through them as they're showing you these beautiful pictures. It's very misleading, and it's very much playing on emotions. And so I'm speaking to those people out there right now who are who maybe have not done PFC3, or you hadn't heard of it as much, you didn't dive into it very much, or you maybe considered trying some of these drugs, or maybe you are trying them. I want you to pay attention to what the side effects are, and I want you just to know that you can put things in place to create hormonal balance and stabilize your blood sugar and help to reverse some of the symptoms that brought you to this place in the first place. So that's what's trending. We saw what's no longer, which is is Jenny Craig. So Jenny Craig is no longer. The drugs are what's trending, and you do see that everywhere. And I would suggest, and then we're going to bring it around to what works. And I would suggest that if you or someone has come from a dieting background, and now they're like, nope, I just need to, my doctor will prescribe this, I'm going to try that. If they're trying all the things, introduce them to blood sugar stabilization. All of us here in this group, most of us here in this group, I should say, are quite familiar with it and are living this lifestyle because we feel good and we know that it works. And what I always talk about is that blood sugar stabilization is our love language. We were born into this. So anyone out there who has kids or has been around small kids, babies, what do they want to do when they wake up? Every single time they just want to eat. Same with little kids. They get up in the morning, they're like, what's our breakfast? I'm hungry. And then every so often throughout the day, they're eating again. They're just bugging you for food. Oh my gosh, if you ever leave the house with a toddler in tow and you forget a snack, it's a long, nasty day. So if your kids are old enough and they've left the house and you kind of forgot about that, wait till the grandkids come along. Remember that. Don't leave the house without a snack, because they need that. It's their bodies telling them, and they're listening to their body because they haven't dieted and they haven't repressed that and they haven't shut off those signals yet. And so some as adults say, well, I only eat when I'm hungry. Well, how many times a day do you eat? Oh, once or twice. Because you've shut off the signal. And you have that thing in the back of your head that says, well, if I eat more, I'm going to gain weight. Don't eat that. Don't eat that. You can't eat anymore because you're going to gain weight. You wanted to lose weight. Remember, you must stop eating. If you don't give your body the fuel it needs, in a very loving way, it's trying to save you by storing that extra fat. It's not what you want, but it's the way your body is programmed to run for you, because it thinks it's doing you a favor by saving the extra fuel in case you need it, because it's recognizing that you're not giving it enough so that you might have extra, so that you might have some when you need it. So now every morsel you put in, it's going to store it up, store it as fat, just like a squirrel storing up for winter. It needs it for later. Well, your body is thinking right now that, you're going into hibernation and you need it for later. But if you keep doing that forever and ever and ever, or over long periods of time, it's like the never ending hibernation that you're preparing for. And so it keeps packing it on. It also raises your set point. And that's not something you want, because that set point is your weight regulating mechanism that tells your body, this is the weight I'm happy and comfortable at. Even if it's not the weight that you're happy and comfortable at, sometimes it gets there. And it usually gets to a place that you're not happy about because of the things we've done previous. The more things you've done diet-wise and not eating and all of those things, the higher your set point goes, which means the harder it is to bring it down to lose weight. Is it impossible? No, absolutely not. Will it take a little bit longer if you've done it longer? Absolutely. Right? Okay. So I hope that sort of sheds a bit of light on some of the things that are out there that, that what's trending, and then what works. And we know here at Fit Nutrition, you know, as a fit lifer, that blood sugar stabilization works, that your PFC every 3 is golden. You're using food to create hormonal balance and stabilize blood sugar. And then with your 6 plates, you've got your nutrition and your exercise. You're moving your body daily. You're hydrating with lots of water. Got mine here all the time. You are making sure to get enough sleep, good quality sleep. You're managing that stress. And when it comes on you, you're purposefully putting things in place to help you break through that and relax. And then you're filling in your nutritional gaps, because as a fit lifer, that no matter how good you eat, you are not a perfect person. None of us are. And we can't get everything that we need 24/7, 365, every single day, all the time that our body needs. So we put in that extra because we care and because we know it works. And when we do that for our body responds and we flourish. The energy goes up, the metabolism goes up, your body starts churning and burning through all that stored fat, and you just feel so good. And that's ultimately what we want. Remember, there is that small demographic, and I really hope that demographic is growing and becoming bigger. So please share your experiences, because that helps. So there's a small demographic of people getting healthier as we age, and it is not an exclusive club. You're in it. Invite more people to join you. Share your journey of blood sugar stabilization. And if you have a great story about blood sugar stabilization, about where you were, where you've come from, please drop that in the comments below. I would love to read it. And I'd love for you to share your experience with the rest of the group. So thank you guys for watching. Again, let me know where you're watching from, if you're watching live or on the replay, and come back again next week, same time, same station, for another episode of Fit Nutrition Podcast. Happy Wednesday.